Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Dark Season 1, Episode 8. It is called As You Sow, So You Shall Reap. So, full spoilers for the episode. And obviously, we were teed up for it in the last episode, but not surprisingly, we ended up in 1953 in this episode. It went much smoother for remembering who was who in this time, but I think that's just because it's now Episode 8 as opposed to Episode 3.
Also, I think there was less people than we were when we first went to 86. I felt like we had a lot more characters at once.
Probably. I think it makes a lot of sense given that in present day we have all these adults and all these grandparent aged folk who are all existing in 86, whereas in 53 it's just the grandparent folk
Yeah,
and their like
that
parents
does
and
help.
stuff. So there's a few adults from 86 as well, obviously who are younger, but that's just a bit more straightforward. It was a very focused episode, though. Again, I feel like it's been getting more focused per episode as we've gone.
Very clearly split into just two plots.
Yeah, obviously the big main one being Ulrich, who, after following Helga, old Helga, in the cave, ends up in the crossing, the tunnel. And I did notice immediately that he went in a different direction. He went left instead of right.
Yeah.
And sure enough, because obviously even when he's coming out, there's like a gate, sort of half of a gate still in the cave, and I'm like, oh, that's different. That's not been in any of the time periods yet.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. And sure enough, and it's a while before he gets to anything that tells him what year it is, because he sees little Helga at one point, little Helga.
Yeah, and I think for us that was already clear enough, just based on the clothing.
Well, yeah, we'd seen like the policeman and stuff by this point already.
Yeah,
we knew it was 1953, but for Ulrich, that was just like, oh, he's dressed a bit weird. That's whatever. But you wouldn't necessarily jump to any conclusions. And then, like, this car stops when he gets to the road, and his grandmother and his little son version of his father come out, and they're asking for directions. Like, oh yeah, that's where I live. And she mentions her name, and then her son's name, and he's like, wait. So your name's Tronity, you're you. So it's obviously as a pair that's more notable than it is just one of them. It's like, okay, maybe one person just happens to have the same name as my father. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
This is possible, but no. Son, mother, same names, and then
the house that they're going to. It's like, okay.
And of course, he then asks the question. He's like, okay, and I like that he acknowledges before he says, he's like, excuse the weird question. But what year is it?
Yeah, I feel like we've had that question. We get it a few times, like lately.
Yeah, and I think they've always played it realistic, where the person asking it knows it's a weird question, so they always kind of preface it with, "Hey, like this is kind of weird, but what year is it?"
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you go back to the Terminator and that moment where Kyle Reese like asks the cop, he's like, "What year?" and it's really over the top, and he's like, and the cop never even answers him. He's just like, "What?"
Yeah, like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, so you need to preface. You need to say, "No, like I know this is weird, but just entertain me."
Just go with it. Yeah.
Yeah. What year is it? And he goes on his little adventure. he pulls out the book, and we actually find out the watchmaker. But obviously, this is more from the other sort of timeline. We see this confirmation first, but the watchmaker is actually the one who wrote this book. H.G. Tenhouse. There you go. HGT, I'll go to call him. That's his initials. A good set of initials. I feel like
I like the use of the HG.
Yeah, because H.G. Wells. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice touch. But he goes to see him. So because I think obviously we never really knew for sure which time period. I mean, we assumed 86 because that was the only other one we had. But it's confirmed to be 86, the one we've been seeing him in, because when Ulrich goes to see him in his shop in 1953, he's a much younger man. He's in his 30s or whatever, and he's like, "Hey, this is you in the book," and the guy looks at it and it's like, obviously a much older man. He's like, "No, that's not me."
It must be someone else.
Yeah, same name, but not me. But Ulrich's like freaking out, and it's actually when Ines, Hannah's mother comes in, and she's small, and she's with Ulrich's young mother, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, like they found dead bodies. Like there was two young boys found because they're building the plant, but that's just happening right now. The plant's
they're just starting to build it.
Yeah, they're digging for the foundations and whatnot, and they found these bodies, and we can clearly see one of them's Eric right from the get go because the ginger hairs,
They keep telling us.
Really, really obvious, and Ulrich, of course, hears this, and he's like, and obviously everything that he's been looking for, what he's been, investigating, he gets very animated about it, and he's like, okay, I need to go, and he runs off to the police station, but he leaves his jacket.
Yeah, he does.
He leaves his jacket. And I'm just going to skip to where this leads to, because we don't really see young Watchmaker again until this scene towards the end. But the Watchmaker notices the jacket at the end of the episode, and he picks it up and he puts it on the clothes horse, and he's like, okay. The coat hanger, not clothes horse. Same difference. And I'm like, check his pockets.
Yeah.
Check his pockets.
I mean, I don't know why he just checks his pockets. It seems very rude, but...
Well, it is a bit rude, but I kind of got it from context that the jacket itself is strange to him.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm assuming is maybe he's gone, oh, maybe he'll have some sort of identification so I can, return it to him.
Yeah. Like, I mean, obviously, like...
But there are reasons. It just seems just like he just does it.
That's the sort of thing, I feel like no one does that anymore, but yeah, definitely, even when I was younger, I remember that being a thing where you'd put your initials and stuff in your coats, and there'd be some sort of...
But even the idea, like, he might have left a wallet in his jacket.
But he's in, and he pulls out a smartphone, and I'm like, oh yes, I've been waiting for this. And I love the moment when he finds the button, and he turns it on, and it lights up, and he just, like, freaks out, and, like...
I like that smartphones are so intuitive in the sense that, okay, well, I'm going round, there's only a couple of buttons here, there's 2 and then a 1, so you press the 1 first.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
They are to our volume, and at least most models. I can't think of anyone where it wouldn't be.
Exactly. So we always know that now, obviously, but even then I buy that, okay, if you've got 3 buttons, 2 are connected, you're going to press the 1 on its own first. That just makes sense.
Yeah. And he's freaking out. He sees, obviously his homepage is just a picture of his family, and he's just like, whoa.
The time's there. And
the time's there, yeah. Probably the date as well, I imagine, which is probably freaking out. And obviously, it maybe stands to reason that this is maybe what starts him on his path to write this book.
Yeah, and I think that's where we have to kind of jump into his stuff with the stranger to deal with that side of things.
Yeah, so the stranger comes and he sits down and talks to him, and he whips out his book, and he comments how, oh, I've not seen this book in a while. There's only 500 copies. It wasn't a big book. It wasn't exactly mass published or marketed.
I assume it got reprinted later.
Yeah, very possibly, yeah, after his death. That's very possible.
This looked like quite a neat copy that he got. So, I mean, I won obviously because he just went back in time and got it when it was new, but it looks like it's been reprinted.
That's also very possible. He just got it when it was new.
Yeah.
But, no, so he basically, they're just talking about the theories, and it's kind of just sort of stuff we've had ideas about already, about time being circular, future feeding the past, the 3 points. Of course, they talk a lot about the 33 and the importance of that number. In fact, very interestingly, it gets kind of religious at some point because he's talking about 33, what was it?
Angels, Psalms.
What was the one about Dante? 33 something in hell.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember the exact thing.
Yeah, it wasn't circles because there's 9 circles of hell, if I recall correctly. But there was like 33 shows up in all these different places.
Yeah.
And it actually cut to Noah, who of course has been like dressed as a priest. When we've seen him, unless he's been topless.
We assume he is a priest.
Yeah. Oh sure. I mean, maybe I'm just being cynical.
Dressed as a priest implies impersonation.
What did I watch recently where someone was pretending to be a priest, and that's why I'm thinking that?
I don't know.
There was something.
I mean.
Oh, it was Godless.
Godless was. Was he ever a priest in that? I assumed he was in his younger days.
I mean, they never actually told us he was, or showed us that he was.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I always just assumed that he had been, and he kind of just kept it.
I always just sort of took it as an act, which I think is just what I was thinking of, and my assumptions about Noah. But yeah. I mean, maybe he is actually, but at the very least, he's not a very nice priest given everything he's doing.
No, it's not.
But no, it's the idea that because we've been you brought up the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Here he specifically talks about how people always think of wormholes, and was it the Einstein
Rosenbridge.
About how that's like you get 2 ends to it, but he's like no. There's always more than 2 dimensions. It's not just up and down. There's also center. There's also depth or whatever. And there's always these 3 things. And he theorized that if there was ever one of these things, then those 3 time periods, split by 33 years, would always be intertwined, and they'd always be like feeding each other. And it all gets down to this point where we find out what the Stranger's goal is. He wants to close the bridge.
Yeah, I love this whole debate. Is essentially the debate me and you keep having in these reviews is because we've been going, right, what exactly are the rules? Is it a loop? Is it all predetermined? Can it be fixed? And we've not been sure. And it turns out, well, that's kind of the goal. The Stranger wants to see if he can change something.
Yeah, which I like a lot, because I think when you first posed to me this whole thing's a circular and everything's predetermined, like, I'm fine with that idea, but I didn't like the idea that it was already set in stone. I like the idea of the characters themselves actually trying to challenge it and, testing it themselves and try to figure it out. And I like that the goal here is he does want to change things. He wants to close the loop. And he also confirms that the plant is responsible for the creation.
He mentions there is an incident in the future.
No, I think it was in the past, in 1986.
Was it in the past?
He said it was a few months ago, yeah. They owned it.
Oh, see, I assumed a few months ago for him.
Oh no, I think he would be smart enough to phrase it for who he's speaking to.
Okay, that's
I
fair.
could be wrong, but I feel like he would do that.
Just the way they'd always told us that, the first episode, they said this plant has never had an incident. So unless they covered it up, but either they covered it up.
It said it hasn't had an incident in 33 years.
Okay, that's true.
That's what they said, which was
That's
1986.
a good point. And we assumed that had been when it had opened. It only opened 33 years ago. But
yeah, I think we made that assumption at the time, but yeah, no, I think
you're right.
Yeah, especially since we're seeing it being built in 1953. Clearly, it was operational before.
Yeah, no, you're right, of course.
86. And then he pulls out the machine, the device, and he's like, "Hey, this is your initials. You built this." And HG's kind of like, "Wait, so this can open these wormholes?" And he's like, "In theory, it opened this one? No. And that's when he mentions the plant, but I want to use this to close it." And he freaks out. He actually asks him to leave. He's really freaking out at this point. But the Stranger leaves the machine, and then he goes over the HG, the watchmaker. I like the watchmaker, isn't it? Even though I know his name now, I feel like the watchmaker just sounds
a
cool.
good title, isn't it?
But he pulls out this case off the shelf and he opens it. It's the same machine that he's just built recently, and I loved it when you see them side by side.
Shiny.
Yeah, it's new and shiny, whereas this other one's like kind of tatty and old and looks a bit grotty.
And see now, last episode I was saying I think the Stranger is Jonas.
Yeah.
And mostly I'm still onto that idea. But my question now is, if this is when the incident for the nuclear plant happened, and it's always, past, present, and future, if this is the present of that incident of where the bridge opened.
Well, see, this makes a lot of sense to me, because we've been talking about how the two pathways, one's future, one's past, then it's always been that, but 86 is the present. 86 is the centre.
So my question is, this Stranger, if he is Jonas, he has to have come from the future again, right?
That's if he's Jonas. Maybe he's not.
That's what I mean, if he's Jonas. So if he is, what's interesting to me is the present, so to speak, is applicable to where you are. So the bridge thinks that you're in the present, so it's always a past and a future option from where you are.
Assuming it's Jonas, the way... Because the bridge was created in 86, I'm tempted to suggest that maybe it's not that case, and it's maybe 86 is always the centre.
That's what I was thinking when I was talking about this, yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because we were kind of, not arrogant is not the right word, but I think just naturally we assumed that 2019 is the present and it's two things to the past, but this episode kind of told me, no, 86 is when it was created, so 86 is actually the present day in reference to this time loop, and 2019 is the future. We're in the future. Yes.
Exactly.
Which is actually a really smart way of doing it, like actually using present day as the future setting, because it means...
Yeah, it's different, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't have to faff about imagining what the future's going to be, and this is cool. It's fun. So I like that idea. I like that cool. One of the things that it cuts to, though, during all this is HD sort of like... He's describing all this thing, everything's connected, and we see this location. We see like shelves of grenades and machine guns and whatnot. And we see, like, the old murder board thing with the strings and the photographs, and we see, like, here's this person in this time period, and it was cutting through all of the main characters, everyone.
Yeah, and this is the one thing that maybe supports my argument for Stranger being Jonas. I don't know if you caught the way they were connected. So
he was in the middle.
Well, not just that. When you had Mikkel/Michael, his picture was connected via a red, like all the strings were connected. White strings seem to be family connections.
Okay, all right.
And he
I didn't
had a
notice
red
that.
string to indicate he'd traveled in time, but his red string starts above the stranger. So I'm wondering if that's saying, oh no, he is, that's his father, like in that sort of line.
Oh wait, he doesn't have to be from the future.
Go on.
Same as Mikkel, he went back in time and grew up in the past.
It's a fair point.
So it could be Jonas, and it still fits with everything we just said.
It does. It does. You're right. We overlooked the obvious.
Yeah, he went back to 86 or 53, whatever
Or 53, yeah.
Yeah, whatever one. And he
Lived enough to age to where he is now,
Yeah.
and then went time hopping again.
Yeah, maybe it was 53 because then he has to wait until 86 to start time hopping. Or it could be just 86, then he has to wait till 2019 to start time hopping. But
Okay.
I mean, he arrives like in episode 1 or 2. He arrived as if he's just getting here in 2019. So that would imply to me he's been spending time in
Elsewhere.
Yeah. So
Elsewhere.
my guess would be 53 to 86. But I mean,
Yeah.
no.
This seems plausible to me though.
Yeah. If it's Jonas, obviously we could
If it is,
turn it
yeah.
not to be. But that's not the only interesting person here now. We have a woman who's looking at these photographs. I actually went back and checked the photographs a couple of times.
Oh, I saw it immediately because I was like, because it just showed us.
Because this is the thing. The second time I looked, I'm not sure it is her because it looks a lot like Claudia in the photograph.
Yeah, it is, right? Do you not think it is her?
I don't know. I keep going back and forth. She's got very similar hair.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I saw that photo and then saw her, and I was like, no, that's her. Just that I didn't doubt it at all.
it definitely looks a lot like her. Don't get me wrong. At first I was on board it was her. When I'd watched this yesterday, so I skimmed through the episode again to remind myself of all the scenes. When I looked and I paused it in the photograph and then I paused it on her, I have doubt. I have doubt that it's not actually her. So it might be. I could be wrong. But we've not really seen much of her in present day, though, right?
I don't remember seeing her. Have we seen her at all in present day?
Not that I remember.
If we have, it would have been right near the start where we were not remembering who everyone was.
It would have been brief because there was no big thing with her, I don't think. But
which is why I do think this is her, because this felt like a reveal. Like we'd seen her in the younger version of her, and then we see the photos to remind us, and then we see her.
It would stand up to reason if it is her, in the sense that because she was running the plant for X number of years, she would have maybe discovered the bridge or discovered that things were going on, and
became aware,
and seemingly is now obsessed as shit with it and has munitions ready in case stuff goes down.
She's preparing for something.
Yeah, she thinks something's going down. Is the stranger working with her or what? Who knows? We'll find out. But that was very curious. But let's go back to Ulrich.
Yes, of course.
So he goes to the police station and he's asking all sorts of weird questions. Egon, there, young and bright Egon, is trying to answer these questions about, he's asking, were the kids here? What were the kids? He describes his son, describes Mikkel, and sure enough, no, nothing like that. But he mentions red hair, and you almost get this moment where Ulrich probably realises who that is, and he's like, okay.
He does, but he kind of almost dismisses, like, there's nothing I can do about him. I don't care enough, almost.
Yeah. Well, he's already dead, so...
It is. He's like, well, I can't bring him back. I can't explain this in present day.
Yeah. What is interesting, though, there is the scene in the, with the autopsy, when, Egon comes in, and they're explaining various things, like, they're dressed in really weird clothes, and there's some really weird things. Look at this coin that was around his neck, and it says 1986 on it, and they're, like, freaking out.
Yeah.
What's going on? And then the clothes say made in China, and they're like, they don't look Chinese.
So you could just see him go, commie bastards.
Yeah, it's just a really funny thing, and I like that there is actually clear evidence on these bodies that they're from different time periods, and that you get the impression they're probably just going to ignore it and sweep it under the rug because they just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, but it makes it really interesting for Egon to have been a part of this.
Yeah, you wonder if Egon sees something else in 86 maybe later that is going to
remind him.
Oh, wait a minute, I remember something weird back then.
Yeah, in the same way we've had characters in 2019 kind of being going, hang on a second, and kind of slowly having these moments from things they remember from 86. Could be fascinating. And the thing is, though, he clearly never solves the case of Mads. So Does he ever link anything to go, this is why? But he just can't explain it to the other people.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe that's why in '86, Ulrich is so like thinks he's doing nothing, but maybe we'll find out later that he actually knows he can't do anything because of stuff he knows about what's going on. So, who knows? But there's actually a really neat foreshadowing scene early on in the episode, where Egon and a fellow detective are talking about murderers. And it's almost a joke, but they're just kind of saying, "Oh, how easy would it be if we knew they were going to be killers before? Like, are they born this way, or did they become killers? And how easy would it be if we just happened to know? We could lock them up before they ever actually do anything." It's actually a nice bit of foreshadowing for just thematically for what's going on in this episode later on.
It is.
Before we get to that, though, we should probably talk about because obviously, just to finish up the scene with the police station when Ulrich's there, he starts asking about Helge, and he's like, "Oh yeah, he's about 70 years old." He's like, "Well, no, I mean, there's a kid named that, but like, yeah, and his grandfather's that age maybe, but like, he's and that's when he finds out where he probably lives, runs off." But before we get to that, let's go back a little bit because we do have some Helge. We have, of course, Tronte comes to live in the same house where little Claudia lives with her mother. Interestingly, that Tronte's mother and Claudia's mother actually have a little romantic moment later on because they're making the bed and their hands kind of touch, and obviously given the time period, maybe not something they'd be more free to explore, especially since one was married as well. I mean,
and on that, she says, they ask, "Oh, where's your husband?" And she goes, "No, he's dead." But she kind of gives a look at Tronte like. Yeah, it's not really the truth.
And then you see later on, he's got it's like cigar burns all over his arm or something like that.
Yeah.
So no. So I wonder if he'll come into play.
I sense a mystery.
I sense a villain at the very least that's going to be coming to play. But so set all this stuff up, and it's funny because Tronte and Claudia we know have an affair in the future.
Yeah.
So it's kind of setting that up, but Helge's kind of jealous, which also makes sense because Helge in 1986 seemed to have like a sort of like kind of crush on her. Maybe try to give her a present out at the gate and all that stuff. So all this stuff's syncing up, and Helge's kind of jealous. And he throws the thing into the cave, so the dog runs in there. So I wonder if we're going to have a dog running out in present day somewhere.
Could be.
Because the dog's missing. But so Ulrich shows up at the mansion because obviously Helge's father's the one who's opening this plant. So he's a very rich man. We see him he even speculates one point that the coal plant, like the coal power plant, have planted these bodies here to try and discredit the whole plan.
It's a reasonable theory.
Yeah, very very paranoid of him, but people do fear change, of course.
Yep.
But no, so Ulrich comes over and he sits down with him, and he's got a box full of dead birds. And if Ulrich's suspecting him at this point, and we know he is suspecting him. Him having dead animals collected is not a good sign, I would say.
It's not.
That said,
but Ulrich is familiar with these birds at the moment.
That's true. We are as well, especially because he says that they just fell out the sky, and we're like, oh, he's probably right because we know that's been happening when people have been crossing through.
Yeah.
So no, but just this scene because you see what the idea that Ulrich's having as the scene's going on, and you can tell he's getting more emotional. He describes the fact that he's lost his brother, that he's lost his son, and he thinks Helge's going to be the one that kills him. And he gets the idea that he can maybe change all that. And in fact, we should actually mention a mistake we made last episode. Actually, just as we're getting to it here, I meant to mention this at the start of the video.
Yeah.
But last episode, we assumed that the young deaf boy who got taken was actually young Helge. That is incorrect. We basically we didn't remember what he looked like, and we saw the young boy at the start of the episode last week and just assumed it was him. That is incorrect. That's just Helge from 1953 naturally. Yeah. I mean everything else.
I did go back and look at the other kid.
Yeah,
they're pretty similar enough that I get where we got confused.
Yeah, but I mean everything else we said from that point on about what Helge would become all still stands. It just wasn't the deaf kid from the future. So apologies for the mistake, but I mean. I think honestly, I think we've done pretty well with this show up until this point. I'll accept the mistake in that one, but so obviously we have to then wonder How does he get all that scarring on the side of his face?
And they keep teasing it all episode. Like he'll get a slap in the face, or something will happen near that side of his face. He'll keep playing with it. It's like, oh, is this the moment?
Yeah, the bullies, his mother, like there's all these moments.
Yeah.
I don't think I was expecting the brutality of Ulrich just bashing his head in with a rock.
No.
That was really dark.
Yeah, it was.
You've got this, what? I mean, what age is this kid? Like 7, 8?
Maybe 10.
Maybe, and he just bashed him in the face with a rock. And he drags him out. He ends up at the cellar, because he chases him through the woods, and they end up at the cellar, and that's when he sort of bashes him. He drags him into the cellar. And we actually end the episode with Ulrich just sort of sitting outside it. And all I could think was, right, Ulrich, go back to the bridge, cross now, because if they catch you...
You're stuck here.
You're stuck here, yeah. Go back to the goddamn bridge. Do it now.
Yeah.
And who knows if he makes it or not. Because...
No. And again, this is the self-fulfilling destiny coming in again, in the sense that...
Because he thinks he's dead.
In his determination to stop Helge doing what he thinks he will do, he has made him into what he fears.
Yeah, and... I mean, it could be a thing where there is an element of like vengeance where Helge wants to target his family. I'm not convinced that's necessarily the case, but it could be. At the very least, though, he's put him in the chain of events that's going to lead to what he becomes, because he's bashed his head, and because last episode we saw Helge with his all his bloody face in the room with the wallpaper and the stuff, which wasn't there in 1953. We see it here. It's empty.
It's very clearly empty.
So it seems that in 1986, they've just gutted that room, they've just cleaned it, they've just taken the wallpaper down, they've just changed it after whatever experiments they were doing. They seem to be finished. But no. So very fascinating episode. I think it did a really great job of keeping me interested, despite the fact that, once again, other than Ulrich, everyone was a new cast member in 53.
In 53, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and obviously I had the Watchmaker and the Stranger, but... and that conversation was fascinating in and of itself.
Yeah, it was really delving into the themes of what we've been discussing, and it's kind of going, okay, no, this is what the show's really going to be about. And presumably in the next season, like, okay, we're introducing a lot of these ideas now, but we're so close to the end of the season that it's too early to really... I don't think there's enough time to really resolve a lot of these ideas satisfyingly.
No, I think it's very clear that this is not meant to be a one-season show.
No, so yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So it seems to me here, it's like, okay, we're towards the end of the season now. You know what to expect. We know what you've had this season. You know what the show is. Here's what it's going to be going forward. Here's what it's going to explore, the ideas that it's going to be looking at in the future.
I'm kind of expecting another bomb. And by bomb, I mean, like, you know how Mikkel turned out to be Michael? I'm kind of expecting another event that kind of makes something else click into place in a weird way we didn't expect.
I agree. Although I do, I think if that bomb turns out to be Jonas is the Stranger, I wouldn't be too surprised if that's the one they play.
Yeah, I wouldn't be disappointed, but I'm kind of expecting one that I don't know about.
You want something more. Yeah.
I'm kind of expecting something else, and I would almost expect that he does affect the time loop in some way. And
in a small way.
And it'll maybe implicate what season 2 is going to be, whatever he does.
I wonder if that's what season 2 is. At the end of the season, he does change something, but and it's like, okay, no, how do I correct this? This is worse. You know, that conversation we had before.
Well, it depends. Like, does he just change an event in some way, or does he actually close the loop? And if he does close the loop, then what are the effects of that?
Yeah, exactly. But if he manages to close this loop, he would still have the ability to open another with the machine, right?
Yeah. I mean, what if he almost immediately has to open another one because he realises, like, right away, or something that immediately starts to go wrong? And if he does, then do we start a new loop and a new sort of...
Yeah, because the idea at the moment is nothing can be changed while the loop is open, because that's how the loop works. Yeah? That's what the Watchmaker's kind of saying. It's like, no, it's all, because it's also interlinked. You can't change anything. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, in theory. But if he closes the loop and then changes something and then reopens a loop...
Then we've got a whole new set of circumstances to play with.
Yeah, does that then work? Does the change then take effect?
Yeah.
Whatever he wants to change. Like, maybe at his age, maybe he's willing to sacrifice himself to save everyone else.
Yeah, I think that's something we haven't really speculated. We know he wants to change something, but we have no idea what or why.
You have to assume it's for the better.
I mean, unless the change is simply closing the loop, but I feel like it's got to be something more than that.
I feel like it is, especially if we're going with this idea, and we could be wrong here, but if we're going with this idea that by closing the loop he can change something, it'll take effect, and then he can reopen a loop and go back to wherever he wants to. I mean, that's assuming that there'll be anything to go back to. Maybe whatever he changes does erase him from existence, and it doesn't matter, and he can just
Yeah.
be done, and that's it, right? Like, the universe can work again. Like, because here's the weird thing, like, can time still move forward past this? Like, obviously we've not seen anything past 2019, and I almost wonder if because we're in a closed loop that
We never can, almost.
but yeah, we never can, and I don't know if that means something like cataclysmic happens in 2019 that like ends the world, or if it's just a simple case of like time loops back in itself, so we can't move
Yeah,
forward.
because he keeps talking about like again, go back to the conversation with the watchmaker. Keeps talking about how no, it's a circle. It's like it doesn't matter. You'll get to the end of 2019, but then you're in 1953 again. It keeps it's this loop. It is a circle. You can't get past it. You can't break it. Maybe that's the problem. The stranger wants to close the loop so he can move forward with his life, move in time.
Also, everyone can move forward with
Yeah.
their life. That said, admittedly, they've not really given us a whole lot of evidence that we can't move forward in 2019, but it's still certainly something they could introduce without it feeling like,
Definitely, they've
It's-
set it up enough that it could be that.
yeah. But that's maybe a bit of a leap on our part, but it's a nice idea.
We've made many a leap in the past, often wrong, occasionally far too right.
Yeah, yeah. But no, it's a really fun ideas to play with. I'm digging the conversation. Having the characters just flat out talk about it is really exciting.
Yeah.
So no, I guess now that we have 2 episodes left, I'll just say renew it, Netflix. God damn it, just renew it. If you want to. So we should have the season done pretty soon. The plan is to record one Monday, record one Tuesday, and be done. And we'll be done sometime Tuesday night. So let us know what you thought of episode 8 in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. You'll get a link to that and all stuff in the description. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?